Okay, recording this video. It's Friday, 17th of October 2014. It is 4:45 a.m. Chicago time. It's kind of mid-morning here in France. And wow, what a couple of days. Just unbelievable. You know, speed of the market, the ranges, the volatility, the volume going through is just unbelievably wild. Got a nice email from John Jay, and he was talking about getting out before having a heart attack. And I think that's right. Just feels like that. Getting some really nice emails. A couple of people mentioning moving their stops, and I just want to talk about that just really briefly, because Wednesday was a pretty ordinary day for me. I got stopped out twice, maybe back a little bit of that, but it was a bad day. Thursday, by contrast, was an awesome day, and my best trade was actually pre-open when it was a little bit more measured and quiet off the European kind of sell-off that we had, and I had a beauty of a 10-point trade. But just talking about moving targets and moving stops, I think my perspective is, I mean, at 4 points, I always think, you know, people always think my stops are way too wide anyway. But the market is moving so fast. I'm okay with getting stopped out at 4 points just because you can re-enter and easily make that back on these trending moves. The trending moves are so big. So just be cautious about moving your stops out. Move your targets out by all means, because you know the opportunities are there over the last several days. You know, the trending moves are monster. So but just be careful about kind of moving your stops out instead. Last video I put out, we had a really nice little pattern pullback to end of trend come up, and I talked about a quintuple kind of setup here. I said it was a bottom, but maybe not the bottom, and didn't turn out to be the bottom. It actually led to a nice 30-point rally. It doesn't look like 30 points that we had here on the 40,500 tip bar chart. That's 30 points. But anyway, by the end of the day, it had collapsed, and we'd broken through another support level into another downtrend move. And then we got almost exactly the kind of same type of setup. It's not exactly the same, but pullback to end of trend going on here on the 40,500. Sinking up on 4,500 with again pullback to end of trend. That's the pre-open on Thursday, and on the 13,000 it was pullback to dirty end of trend, another support level there, kind of pre-open. So, and on the other time frames there were support levels kind of coming in as well, and we led to a really nice kind of rally there. 13,500, I'll just explain this rally. As soon that sell-off overnight was driven by the European markets. The European equity markets just kind of collapsed, and it was a monster move. But as soon as that had happened, you know, during the full liquidity of the day, the bottom's in, we have all these blue professional bars buying that open, bang. They're just anxious to buy it up, buy it up, buy it up. And then as soon as we come back in to test it, pretty violent test, but again, you can see another blue professional bar coming in there right at the bottom of that range. They held it at that point, and then the rally starts. We go into pullback to end of trend. We've had some weakness kind of into the close, but again we're rallying from there. We haven't had a nice exhaustion pattern on the upside here on 13,000 to mirror this kind of downtrend that we got: exhaustion, sell, bullish divergence, and flush. But the thing I want to point out is, let me go to the 40,500 tip bar chart again. The nice thing about this bottom is that we have blue professional bars kind of coming in after exhaustion on our left shoulder and bullish divergence and all those good things. This one, we had the blue professional bars coming into the close on the Wednesday up at the highs, and there weren't any on this time frame, at least, you know, at the bottom down here. We've had one at the end of the day here, and we're kind of playing off there. But I'm just wary that for me does not smack of enough kind of bottoming activity. And then here's the other thing I talk about. The market does not like straight lines, and this is to do with emotions. And you can see here with the exhaustion sell that we had here, each time we lurch down, the selling is getting less and less severe, and that's why we've got all these bullish divergence patterns kind of coming up on better momentum, measuring that kind of selling activity. And we've kind of lined up here like that. The market does not like that. The market doesn't turn around like, you know, smoothly round a corner. It's made up of people, and people have emotions, and they go from panic to euphoria. So we've had, you know, an element of panic kind of here with this sell down, but we really didn't get, you know, kind of a panicky type bottom down here being made. And I'm just waiting for that kind of trend line to be broken with a kind of a panicky type sell. That's the kind of thing that we need in order to test back in to these lows and flush people out and make sure that that thing is really tested out and is the low. And just a point, this bottom here, which was made at exactly 1813 on the E-mini, is exactly 10% from the intraday high that we got up on the 19th of September at 2014.50, which would have been, I think that'd be Alibaba kind of day. So just bear that in mind. That was exactly 10%, which means hopefully on that stock market crash warning indicated commitment of traders, we'll get a signal confirming that this has actually been kind of a correction. Crash is 20%, correction is 10%, but just so you know, that was so there'll have been a lot of people just waiting for that number to be hit, and it's kind of a technical place where we'd see a bounce. But I do think we need to see a little bit of testing back in. Let me just remind you, keep on saying, I don't think the bottom is in until we see pullback to end of trend on the 45-minute chart and then the 135-minute chart. So this is yesterday's activity. We did put in the pullback level, but we're busting up at the moment. We're in the 70s going on. So we're kind of above that pullback level. We might kind of violate it and have to wait for the pullback level on the 135-minute chart to kind of kick in and then kind of push down. But then just bear in mind, again, we need to see a pullback to dirty end of trend on the or end of trend on the 45 minutes, seeing what happens at the open. On the 135-minute chart, again, we need to see pullback to end of trend. And then, on the bigger time frame, even on the daily time frame, at some point we'll see pullback to end of trend. But I'm looking for these things to ripple through before the thing is finally over. So I don't think with this activity enough has been done on the downside. And then looking at the FX charts, the Forex charts, this is my usual kind of setup. These are the 6 I kind of follow on a daily basis, and we're a couple of days away from cyclical turning points. All of these markets are moving in sympathy. Everything's, the capital's moving from one side of the ship to the other side of the ship, so it's like everything's kind of moving together at the moment. So we've got a sell-off in the dollar index happening with the equity market kind of falling down. We've got a cyclical turning point on the daily time frame on dollar index to make in the next few days, and I think that will be when this whole thing starts to find a bottom, when it's bottomed on a whole bunch of, or topped in a whole bunch of markets, when they cyclically kind of come together. Then we've got a nice kind of proved area from which we can call a bottom on this downtrend move. So on dollar index, we're a couple of days away from making that cyclical cross. Canadian dollar doesn't look right on that chart, so I won't show you that. Aussie, we're rallying back up. We've got to make pullback in a downtrend again when these two lines on better sine wave kind of cross and turn over. Euro, same deal. Here we go. We're a little bit closer to making that point, but we've got to cross, and then we've got to get a confirmation, pullback in a downtrend on Euro. Japanese yen, same deal. We're rallying back up. We've got to cross and get a confirmation on price for that. And British pound, it's got a cyclical point at some point to make here on British pound. So just to say, all these markets kind of moving simultaneously. So when all of those things kind of start to line up together, when we start to put in the pullback to end of trend, and when we get a decent kind of pushback down on the 40,500 tip bar chart, then I'll be a little bit more confident that we can kind of call a bottom to this. But in the meantime, all these violent rallies and sell-offs that we're having, they're all being driven by stops being run and short covering rallies kind of going on and stuff like that. So in the meantime, there are plenty of opportunities to jump on board little intraday trend moves that are going up and down. So lots of fun to be had. So hope your trading is going well. And just to say, probably on the weekend, I think it's worth doing a little bit of a recap on one or two of the intraday trades and the setups that I'm looking for at the moment. Again, nothing different than the usual kind of indicator setups. I'm looking for support and resistance lines to be broken on multiple time frames, at least the lower 2 time frames, and the big moves happen when the 3 time frames up to the 4,500 kind of line up, and you get these kind of big trending moves kind of setting up. So it's the usual stuff. I'm just looking for those to be broken with confirmation in the background, looking at the momentum patterns and what the blue professional bars are doing. So hope your trading is going well.